Hello, my name is Jerron Watkins, and I'm here to talk to you about history and philosophy, sport, and physical education. Chapter 1, Why Study History? History is very important to see how the sports or anything with history was created. Um, it can lead to a more enlightened and productive life. Students have viewed that it provides and perspective on why we be, have, and think in in um, in the present. Question 2 of chapter 1. Distinguish between and give examples of each of the two types of historical sources used by historians. Um, Descriptive, right, which disciplines and this describes objectively in a much detail, and it tries to provide the who, what, when, and where. And interpretive, which evaluates the evidence and at attempts to explain the how and why. So those are the differences. Question number 3: describe the similarities and differences between religion, philosophy, and science. All of them discuss the human creations. They all have similar origins, right? Which means they originated from all the same place. Religion is grounded in blind faith and belief. Science operates from a set of rules called a padiagram. Um, Philosophy is grounded in reason of logic. Science strives for objective and reject value and judgment. Philosophy accepts the idea of value, judgment, and studies. Nature. Philosophy used to make judgment. Science doesn't make any of that. Philosophy focuses on the process and getting to the answers. Science seeks to prove or disapprove hypothesis. And a hypothesis is an educated guess to what you want to prove. Philosophy understands rational terms, meaning of life. Science concerned with material, um, objective, and less concerned than they are. Distinguish between play, games, and sports. Sport is a physical activity occurred out under an agreed set of rules for competition. Um, a game is a recreational activity, involves one or more players by the socials is trying to reach. Um, and the sport is just the physical activity of what they're playing. Um, which now leads us to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is discuss the contribution that athletic ability, physical fitness, and competition have had upon both ancient and modern culture. Um, the contribution is that the quest for surviving during ancient times, right? Because you had to survive a lot for battle because they had a lot of fights. Um, Facilitated in the desire to play. Um, the desire to play served as catalyst, grew emphasis on physical fitness and helped explain culture. The ability to adapt and survive. Um, Chapter 2, Question 2, describe the association between the innate need in humans to survive and growth of competitive sports in ancient civilization. The human needed to survive. The people grew stronger and faster with each generation. Athletes strive to defeat their opponent and emerge victorious. They played out contemporary versions of learning skills um, through play, religion, and demanding tremendous endurance, um, running and wrestling. Foot races. Um, chap- Question 3. What are the similarities shared by the Summers Egyptians concerning sports and physical activity? Athletic ability. They share physical fitness, competition, and play. What types of sports and games do we engage in today that just were popular back then? Which was foot races, boxing, wrestling, and javelin. Chapter 3. How Question 1. View how did the Greeks view the body in relation to the mind? The learning mind and a being body were the end product of the worldview. The Greeks um, wanted adolescence in the mind and the body. They paid attention to care of the body should be balanced, like the body should be balanced with physical activity and the body. What effect has the Greek mind-body relation had on contemporary society? The body will never be equal to the mind or the soul. The body is now in position of importance. The development of the mind is more important. The development of the mind is more important than the body. It's in position of importance. Question number 3. What similarities are there between the way the Greek athletes trained thousands of years ago and the way athletes train now? Athletes years ago, they trained from childhood for athletic competition. So that means so the kids could be ready to play. It's through the perfection of the body that they did that. So it was a lot of training, and they started at a very young age so the kids can be ready for when they got older for battle or whatever they were getting into. So they competed and they trained from a very young age, which we does now, because kids now start training in 2nd, 3rd grade, which is very early. Generally, what role did women play in the ancient Greeks? They did a lot of foot races. They wrestled and they threw discs in the ancient Greek sports. Chapter 4. In what ways did Roman sports differ from Greek sports? They did horse races. The Roman sports did horse races. Music played a very big role. Hunting and boxing and dancing. So those were the difference that some Romans did that the Greeks didn't do. Chapter 4, question 2. How did the early Christian church feel about the Roman sports? They opposed combat. Of course, the concept of gladiatorial resurrection compared against the Christian concept. Question 3 of chapter 4. In what ways is the Roman sports similar to the sports in the United States? The athlete trained in the sport to get precise, so when it was time for action and games, they were ready. So athletes train to get ready for the sport, so they can be good at it. So when it was time to play, they were ready. And so that was some of the ways that the Roman sports and the sports we see today is the same. Give your opinion regarding a high inquiry gladiator to type sports today, football and boxing. So the reason regarding the high injury gladiator type is because people are a lot stronger. So boxing and football. So when you get hit, the impact of your brain every time you get hit, if you get hit in the head, if you get in the body and you fall on your head, the impact is very, very heavy. And so that's why a lot of people you see later on in life have a lot of brain injuries, and they have a lot of concussions. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. In what ways did the scholastic belief differ from the mainstream Catholicism with regard to the body? They did not glorify the body. It held it in contempt. To engage in the physical activity to glorify the body was to contaminate the body, which was house the soul. So the body housed the soul, and so they didn't believe that the body should be used for physical fitness. Question 2 of chapter 5. What were the typical sports for the different classes during the Middle Ages, and why the difference? Arching, hunting, hawking, cockfighting, fencing, sole modern game of soccer. The calf. Those were some of the typical sports used for the Middle Ages. I guess the difference was the rich people had the higher power, and they wanted the they just had just different games for if you had money, and that's why the middle class ages, these were they sports that they liked. Which group of church during the Middle Ages was against physical education? The Catholic monks. They didn't like physical education at all. And what chapter 5, question 4, what do you think is more important? The body of the mind. I would say the mind, to me, the mind is important, because without the mind, your body does not function at all. If your mind goes, then your whole body goes, and you're left. You cannot function. You can function without a body part, right? As long as your mind is still activated. But once your mind goes, your whole body goes. Chapter 6. What was the Renaissance? The Renaissance was the rebirth and revival of the classical Middle Ages. How did it differ from the Middle Ages? They thought that the Middle Ages were dark. Did this difference affect the view of the body, sports, and physical education? They incorporated physical education into their curriculum, but they wanted to get away from the church, and they wanted to collide with heaven another way. The Renaissance period, they wanted to bring light because the periods before was dark. What was the Reformation? The Reformation was the stimulus by religion, zeal. How did it differ from the Middle Ages? They wanted to reform the Catholic Church. So they wanted to put the Catholic Church back together. Monks went out looking for money, pestered the begging, and they wanted to eliminate the church. Sports wasn't a part of the life. They wanted the education. What ideas from the Renaissance as a Reformation are with us today in sports physical education on how the body was viewed and the different attitudes about sports? Those is how the difference was. Chapter 6, question 4. Describe the view of your religion, church, with respect to the body and sport. My religion is Christianity. And I guess the view I have is that the body and the mind and your body, you can do what you please. You can make your own choices. It doesn't affect my sport or my physical education, because church is separate from my sport. That's how my religion is, I guess. That's why I was. Chapter 7, question 1. What were the distinguishing traits of Age of Science and Enlightenment period? The idea that humanity can understand life in terms of scientific laws, and science to create new laws. What were the question 2 of chapter 7? What did Rossi Emili say about physical education? Um, he said it was good to help the children develop their senses, and the senses would then provide background. A child develops senses through physical activity. Um, Question 3: what impact did Isaac Newton have on on how we view the body? How did he impact the study of physical education? Um, he had the Newton theory, and everybody continues in the state of rest or the uniform of motion um, in the right line unless it is compelled. The change of motion is proportion as the motive force impressed. Every action there is always opposed an equal reaction. Give your opinion of the relationship between science and the body, science and sport, science and physical education. Um, Science is a basic of how your body works, and so um, the relationship between it is science help the body moves, and science help sports because you have to move in sports and in physical education, and it helps you understand how your body functions. Um, Chapter 8: how did the tenets of idealism manifest themselves in contemporary sport and physical education? Relative to the body, it is interest in ethics. Establish a code of conduct that helps us determine the proper course of action as opposed to an improper or unethical course of action. Determine right or wrong. Chapter 8, Question 2: where did physical education fit into educational reforms of pestology? He believed will help healthy and cheerful children. He had three ways his education: intellectual, moral, and per- perceptional. Chapter 3: what did Forbes say about play? Um, he said it was a wonderful mechanism for stress reduction and what we would call character and moral development. Question Chapter 8, Question 4: what impact does Kant cathedral imperative have on sport today? Act of sportsmanship: act only according to maximum, by which you can ensure universal laws. Act so you treat humanity. So be respectful and be kind to people, and have good character when you play. Chapter 9, Question 1: what was the function of physical education for women in the late 1800s? To develop beautiful, strong bodies. Um, believe her catalyst. Also, creek, grace of movement, and easy manner. Chapter 9, Question 2: what is anthropometry? How was it used and abused in the early history of physical education in the United States? Um, the study of measurements of body segments, um, girth, and length to prove and disapprove lots of theories. Children with less than average mental ability with lighter or shorter or smaller in the chest. Used for social prejudice of upper middle class. They were taller, heavier. It was contrary to the methods we now use. Um, can you think of examples that we use? I just think people just judge people because of what they see, and which is not right. So you always think because a person is tall or short and heavy, um, it's their choice, and sometimes it's not. What factors contributed to the lowering prestige of physical education teachers? Um, have you experienced or witnessed physical education teachers having less prestige than other teachers? Yeah, they made the people go get schooling to be a teacher. And yes, I mean, some teachers have some basic degrees, like a bachelor's degree, and some teachers go out and have PhDs and or just masters. Um, that's just I think it's own choice on how far you want to educate yourself. Describe the physical education legalization implemented in California by Superintendent of Public Instruction John Sweat in 1866. The instruction shall be given to all the grades during the entire school course in the manner and moral and laws of the health conductive to health visionary of body, ventilation, and temperature of school. So they wanted to have the courses for everybody in the school. Chapter 10 discuss both the upside and downside to the merger of sports and physical education that occurred in the early 1900s. Have you witnessed both? Um, and athletic competition and internal sports soon would challenge physical education. Traditional health and fitness of um, were regulated, and so I have not witnessed both. Um, I mean, but I know they. I mean, I know they have like fitness testing for kids, so that the teachers have to abide by for the state rules. So I probably have seen it, but I haven't understood it. Chapter 10, question 2. What is play theory? Play theory is the change of play, games and dance, and sport as a method reflection the growth of playing. Um, what role did John Dewey Edgerton play in teaching? He saw it was a democratic citizenship, social efficiency, and social experience role. He justified entering new activities. Um, chapter Question 3, Chapter 10. What is Heriton? 5 physical education objectives. How did these provide the basis for his argument? Physical education is an essential component. Organization of a child life, development of social adjustment, development of latent powers and captivities, development of the character, the use of big muscles. It was the proof of learning these skills. It was safely first motor efficiency, safety, not run down. Um, what was the role of measurement, quantification, and development of physical education? It was testing becomes means toward of science, spelling, reading, drawing, and language ability. Chapter 11, question 1. What was the place of sport, the Puritans of New England during the new colonial period? Um, it was Massachusetts, and they liked to play football. What was the sport of the mid? What was the place of sport in the Mid-Atlantic region during the colonial period? It was Pennsylvania, and they liked to do bowling and golf. What was the place of sport in the South during the colonial period? Um, it was Virginia, and they like horseback riding, boxing, cockfighting. Um, why were many of the colonial sports so violent by today's standard? Um, I mean, because cockfighting, they did it um, to the death. And the horseback riding, that like a lot of them fell off the horses and got ran over by the horses. So it wasn't a lot of standards to help them um, be safe. Chapter 12. What technical innovation had a major impact on sports in the 19th century? The bats and balls and the lights to help them see, and the telephone. Um, does religion, question 2 of chapter 12, discuss the religion as a justification for sport during this time. Give examples of religion used as justification for a sport you have witnessed. They believe they were obligated to care and develop it. They helped develop moral character, fostered adversible patriotism. Um, and so justification for a sport, um, I would guess just teach people how to have good character of wins and losses in basketball when they lose, and just don't get frustrated because someone has to lose and someone has to win. What is the moderation theory? Contrast pre-modern sport and modern sport. An organization scheme used by historians to describe how a culture changes from one set of another. Um, and so that's what that was. Question 4 of chapter 12. How was the emergence of baseball as a professional sport used to link by participation? Um, it had health and recreational benefits. It served as a counterbalance to the evils of the city. It developed an open character, self control, and teamwork. Valuable education file. Chapter 13. In your own words, describe events leading to the founding of the NCAA. The game had no fans, and the people from the YMCA and AAU could only agree on one rule. The women had their own set of rules, so more people could play. And so the NCAA helped, have the same rules for the people that came from different places. In your own word, describe the origin of basketball. Basketball began in Springfield College at the YMCA. It gives kids something to do in the wintertime. And volleyball in the YMCA, it was something less harsh on the body that that some people could do that wasn't really active a lot, because in basketball you had a lot of running up and down the court. What impact did Mildred Baby Dickerson Zaharis have upon the development of women athletic participation? She showed that women could compete, and she could do what the men could do. She showed women can be successful just like men. Um, what is Title IX, and what impact did it have on the athletic participation? Do you um, Title IX is where athletic teams in high school and college is open for men and women, with the exception of contact sports. Do you think women have the equality with men in sports today? No, I do not. Men get paid. If you even watch the NBA and WNBA, men get paid millions and millions of dollars, where now women just started getting not millions, but a couple 100,000 to live off of. I would say though, a rookie contract or a person that just get picked up in the NBA can make 900 and some $1,000. A pro in the WNBA, even if they've been there for 10 years, they will only make at least 80,000. Right? That's just having a normal job, and they're supposed to be a celebrity. Chapter 14. Describe the events that led to the formation of the first modern Olympic Games. They wanted to believe that Athens, where the Olympic originated from, could be done again, and they can show now a lot of sports with a big group of people. What were the ideals that Baron D. Corcoran wanted to further through the Olympic Games? He could reestablish and inspire the youth to be a part of the games, and also make foreign teams, so people from different countries could bring their teams to come play in the Olympic Games. How did women come to be included in the Olympic Games? They were able to participate in the games that were considered competitive with their femininity. Um, and so that's how they were included in the game. So they got to play those games like tennis and all that. Um, what political moral issue is associated with the 1936 Berlin game? How would you balance patriotism with integralism in the Olympic Games? The issue was Hitler. Hitler was at charge, and he was repulsive. Hitler saw the games as a political, social platform. Um, and how would you balance patriotism with the internalism in the Olympic Games? I would just try to. I mean, I don't know. That's a hard one to think of, but I think it could be done if you just establish some good games or have something. Chapter 15 and 16. Why does there seem to be more interest in the Summer Olympic Games than the Winter Olympics? Um, I would say in the Summer Olympic Games, more people can travel, right? Because in summertime, a lot of people travel and go on vacation with their family. So wherever the Olympic Games are, a lot of people can get there without taking off work and take their family too. Winter, right? You know, it's kind of hard because that's during the school year, and a lot of kids and parents either have work or school, so it's hard to just take off for a long period of time because the Olympics go for a couple weeks. Two, how did the politics and social issues manifest themselves during the 1968 Mexico City Olympiad? Should athletes be encouraged to make political statements during the Olympics? The social problems of the United States era manifest themselves to the platform from Mexico wasn't stable financially for all these people, and they thought people performance would be mishandled because it wasn't on a proper surface. Um, and I mean, I would say athletes, if they want to make a political statement during the Olympics, that's their choice because everybody has their choice. Not everybody should have to, or you shouldn't force somebody to make a statement that they don't want to make. In your opinion, what has sustained the Olympic spirit through difficult periods, Cold War politics, demonstration, and boycott? I mean, it gives something for people to look forward to, of bringing a lot of different talent together from across the world that people get to see in one place. And the Olympics is full of great talent and the best from each country. And I think some people, we all like to see the best versus the best to see how that goes. Um, and so that's what sustained um, the Olympic spirit. In what ways have Olympic athletes have been used? They have been used for counter to advance their political power with the players. I mean, some countries use their political power through the players and promote the players um, and try to use their power. With the exorbitant costs associated with holding the Olympics, what benefits are derived by the host? They have higher economic growth. They have a lot of job creation. It influence of foreign visitors. That means people get to come foreign from their countries, to come to their country that's not from their country, and encourages investment in transport and the infrastructure, the infrastructure. Um, should the Olympics be permanently located in one place? I would say no, because I think the different places that you have the Olympics, you get people who could go to the Olympics get to see different sites and get to see different countries for what they are. So like, when the Olympics was in China, you got some people who went to China, and they had the Olympics in Rio. I think you get people who probably wouldn't go visit those countries visited because they was there for the Olympics, and it's great that having different places and not the same place every time. In your opinion, what does the future of the Olympic movement? I would say the future look like to me. I mean, I think it'd be great. You got a lot of great talent around the world that you normally wouldn't see, and I think if we keep trying new areas, that's good. The movement for the Olympics, I would say, is a great thing that they have because we all want to see the best of other countries versus the United States of where we live, and I think it's great that we give our people that chance. All right, thank you.